How's it going, Anatomy? This is Mr. V. We're here at my workshop for the first video of this series, which is going to be called CA1, the Cardiology 1 video. Okay, these videos should help you out on your final exam, which is, if you've been paying attention to the previous announcement, it should be right before this, then you're going to see the final exam is going to be part digestion, it's going to be part cardio, it's going to be a combination of both of them. That's going to be on May 8th. And it's going to be open notes, but the time that you have to finish it once you hit start is going to be enough time for you to take the test. In other words, normally you guys take 25 minutes or so. If I give you 30 minutes on this, that should be fine. It'll be the same number of questions, same format. In other words, you're just trying to stop people from having 2 hours to take the test and find it all in the book, because you got to know your stuff. You got to pay attention. Those who pay attention to these videos are going to get some help, because I'm going to try to make it easy for you. So we're going to start CA1, and this is going to be right here, CA1, the first cardiovascular test. This is going to be basics on arteries and veins. All right, so let's go with the first thing that we're going to look at. CA1, we're going to look at basic flow through the cardiovascular system. Let's just say that you have your heart right here, and I'm going to use my body to represent the heart in a quick analogy. If you have your heart, then blood is going to flow from your heart to something called an artery. Okay? So in other words, blood is flowing away from the heart through an artery. The word away starts with A, and the word artery starts with A. So it helps you remember, arteries are taking blood away from the heart. Now, the biggest artery in the human body is called the aorta. It leaves the top of my heart. It's really big, carries a lot of blood, carries a lot of pressure. That's the biggest of the arteries. Now, arteries have to deliver blood to smaller and smaller and smaller places throughout the body, and different branches have to occur. So the branch of an artery is called an arteriole. They branch into smaller arterioles. Okay, now these arterioles are going to carry oxygen-rich blood. They're going to be smaller than arteries, and they're simply branches of arteries. Now the arterioles, according to your book, are going to branch into what we're going to call the capillaries. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the capillaries in red, because this is oxygen-rich blood, and so this is going to be called your capillaries. Now, if you paid attention to your kwashiorkor video, we drew some capillaries. You kind of saw how it works, but we have our capillaries there right here. Now, the other side of the capillary is going to be also part of the capillaries, but this is going to be what we call the venule side of the capillaries, because the capillaries drain into something called venules, which are, as you can probably imagine, small veins. They're going to be oxygen poor, they're going to be nutrient poor. In most cases, there's a couple of exceptions, but we got our venules that are going to be right there. Now, venules heading back to the heart are going to join to bigger venules, essentially, and these things are going to be called veins. Okay? And the veins are going to spill back into the heart. Now, this is not unlike perhaps at Maryville High School. Let's just say Maryville High School is your heart. But if you leave Maryville High School, which we haven't done for a long time lately, but if you leave Maryville High School, you may leave on a major road. I don't know, call it Lamar Alexander. You may take Lamar Alexander quickly. You may take 411. Is that the same thing? Maybe the same thing. 321. I don't know. That's like an artery. Like 5 lanes. You got 2 lanes going this way. You got 2 lanes coming this way. You have a turn lane in the middle. Okay, it's a big vessel. It's a big road. So call it an artery. But you don't stay there. I'll be very surprised if you have a 5-lane road that pulls up into your house. So instead, it's going to branch into smaller roads. You're going to turn off Lamar Alexander, you're going to turn off 321, and you're going to turn to small roads, like say Montvale, with like a 2-lane road. That's kind of like an arteriole. Now you're going to drive on that for a while, and it's likely that if you're me, or anybody like me, you're going to branch off into smaller driveways. In fact, I drive down a gravel road before I get to my driveway. You could call those the capillaries, those that actually feed your house, like the capillaries. But the next morning when you get up, you get back on a venule, which is like the arterial. Then you're going to turn on a bigger street, and eventually you're going to get back to your destination, which is going to be Maryville High School. All right, so we're going to show it like this. That's one quick analogy. Let me give you another one. Let's say my body is the heart. The heart's going to pump blood into larger arteries. The arteries are going to branch into smaller arterioles. The arterioles are going to join into capillaries. Here's the arterial side of the capillary. Here's the venual side of the capillary. The capillary is going to join into venules, going this way. The venules are going to join veins. The veins are going to spill right into the heart, like the superior vena cava, like the inferior vena cava. Okay, so that's the basics on flow of blood. You got to know that, so the rest of this is going to make sense. Tell me I can erase this, please. I'm going to have to use the wet one. All right, so that's the basics on the flow. Now, what's the difference between arteries and veins? Now we have to find the difference between arteries and veins. So let's go to that section. You go to black for this. Oh, it's not dry yet. Ah. We have an artery and we have a vein. There's some major differences that you're going to have to know between these two, and those are pretty interesting differences. Let's go to the first difference between arteries and veins. Arteries typically are going to handle the high pressure. In other words, when you feel a pulse, you're going to feel a pulse in an artery. You're not going to feel the pulse in the vein. For example, you have an artery right here on the side of your wrist, and it's called the radial artery. You also have veins that are towards the middle. Okay? Now, if you put your fingers on the veins, you're not going to feel anything. This is why a lot of people try to do it, nurses do, and you're trying to feel a pulse right here. You can't feel it because the veins are low pulse. They're very low pressure. But if you move your fingers out to where the radial artery is, more on the periphery, right under where your thumb joins in, that's where your radial artery is. And so you're going to feel a pulse over there because it has high pressure. Okay? In order to handle the high pressure, arteries are built strong. The walls are thick. They're built to handle pressure. If you're somebody like me and you like pressure washers, you know how you wash up concrete and stuff with that thing with the pressure washer. You know the hose that goes to the wand on a pressure washer? It's really small, but it's high pressure, so it's strong. Okay, so you're not going to break it. You won't be able to handle that kind of pressure with a garden hose. You don't want to hook up to the wand from a pressure washer with a garden hose because you'll blow that hose. But that little tight, strong tube that goes to the pressure washer, they're like arteries. They're built really strong to handle the pressure. I hate to say it this way because it just sounds weird. They're not built for strength and veins. They're built kind of weak. This is why you have something called a varicose vein, because they're so weak that if you put a lot of pressure on them, they distend and they don't snap back. You don't hear about varicose arteries, you hear about varicose veins because the veins are built weak. Arteries are built to handle low volume. A small volume of blood can be found in an artery at any time. However, veins have high volume. You know, if I snap my fingers at any instant, something like 60 to 70% of your blood can be found in a vein at that instant. And not much found in arteries. So if I go boom, like 60 to 70% of your blood is right now in a vein or a venule, not much in the arteries. This is why sometimes they call the veins the blood reservoirs for the body. All right, that's another difference. Now, arteries have no valves. Veins have these valves that are called one-way valves, especially in your arms and legs, like the long veins in the body. Longest vein being the great saphenous vein. It's got these little one-way valves that kind of work like this. so that blood can go up the vein but then not drop back down. The valve will snap back shut. Alright, one-way valves exist in the veins, but they don't exist in their arteries. Generally speaking, arteries are oxygenated. This is definitely true of the aorta, high oxygen-rich blood, but generally speaking, veins are deoxygenated. I'm hoping you can see that. I'm starting to write and I can't get any. Wow. If you want to be rich, figure out how to make a marker that writes much better than these do. There's about a gazillion teachers that want somebody to make better markers. I know it's a little bit wet, but still it happens on dry boards all the time. Alright, generally speaking, arteries are oxygenated, they carry oxygen-rich blood. Veins are deoxygenated. There's an exception to this rule. The pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein, they're exceptions to the rule. The vein is actually oxygenated, the artery is deoxygenated. But here's your major differences between arteries and veins. Alright guys, Mr. B checking out at this point from CA1. This is the first one. Now go check the video quiz. There should be a video quiz. This one is not due until May 8th, where everything is due, but go check the video quiz. Take as many notes as you want on this. Take the quiz, destroy it, do well, and don't share information for that, please, because loose lips, they sink ships. All right, guys, you have a wonderful day.